Welcome to I Feel Like.
Your ultimate guide to navigating life as a young adult.
We're your hosts,
Anna,
Dan,
and Evan.
And we're here to share our experiences and provide advice on everything from surviving college and forming relationships
the situational etiquette and maintaining a social life.
I feel like it's time to start the podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's episode. We're going to discuss glow-ups, give them a general definition, share if we've personally had a glow-up or not, and discuss some stories, experiences, and determine whether glow-ups are actually real or not.
Yeah, I think that a good way to start with that would just kind of be giving our definition of a glow up. Obviously, I'm pretty sure this is it's not an official thing. This is kind of like a man-made construct or idea that someone kind of just came up with one day. But I think it's important to kind of just give in the beginning kind of what we're going to be talking about. And we're going to be talking kind of about glow ups in the sense of mental, physical, and emotional transformations for the better.
Yes, so thank you, Urban Dictionary, for that very comprehensive definition. Because before I looked it up, I really thought it just meant physical in terms of she was just kind of cute before, but now she's hot, or they got really hot and they look really good right now. I didn't really realize the emotional and mental components of it.
I didn't realize that either. And Dan was saying how this is a man-made thing, and it's definitely you didn't hear about glow-ups when you were a kid. It's definitely a more recent term to use, and I didn't realize that it was more than just a physical thing too, you know?
Yeah, I think it's definitely kind of one of the Gen Z slang terms, if you will. I don't know if slang's the right word, but it's definitely a
No,
word
it's
someone
definitely
somewhere came up
slang.
with.
I feel like maybe generations before us, and honestly, they probably had something that kind of described what we're talking about, but I think that it's definitely kind of like a millennial Gen Z thing to describe it as a glow up.
Well, I think what I kind of want to talk about now is defining almost what I don't know how to describe it. Not what is a glow up, but kind of, I guess, the characteristics that are indicative of a glow up, if that makes sense. So I guess in terms of the mental part of the definition that we pulled, I imagine someone who's mentally grown up, I guess, is someone who's just really confident in themselves and they're authentic and they don't really care what others think. They're happy and content with their life and who they are. So I guess that's what I think of when I think of glow up, and then the mental component that I just now learned existed.
I feel like for me, I never really considered these mental and emotional components of a glow up. Kind of like Anna, I always just kind of thought of it oh, this is just a physical appearance, how you went from this societally less accepted version of yourself to maybe a societally more accepted version of yourself. Obviously, love yourself at all stages. You're all beautiful people, but I feel like that's when I thought of a globe, that's what I originally thought. So it's definitely interesting, as we were kind of planning out this topic and getting into it, thinking about these other components that could be considered part of a glow up, like these mental things, gaining confidence in yourself, just kind of being true to yourself in a way, and these emotional characteristics, which I'm sure we'll get into later. But in terms of these mental characteristics that can be associated with the glow up, I think that the biggest one that stands out to me is just gaining confidence in who you are. I feel like the ability to kind of just be true to yourself, be true to your actions, and overall just being the person that you want to be. I feel like that's a really powerful thing that I guess teens, young adults, really anyone around our age range or maybe a little bit younger. I feel like we've all gone through these things, this stage of kind of becoming more confident. And I think that definitely would be attributed to our glow up in a sense, our mental glow ups.
And even though stuff like confidence is, I guess, linked more to mental/emotional glow ups, I think that does contribute somewhat to the physical aspect, because confident people, confidence is sexy, right? That's what they say. I think when you do have confidence, you carry yourself differently. And I think that is attractive more so than someone, I guess, who is not as confident in themselves. So I think that is part of the physical aspect too.
I think that another big thing that kind of comes up with like just specifically talking about a mental glow up is just kind of overall gaining this sense of fulfillment, this like sense of happiness in yourself. I think I haven't taken psychology in a really long time, but I think it's like Maslow's pyramid of like self-actualization or something
Oh
like
my
that.
Oh my
gosh.
gosh.
Jeez Louise,
This is not
Dan.
an educational podcast.
He just had to
Anyway,
get all scientific and stuff. Out
anyway,
of the
in
back.
this psychological principle, it's basically like you need to like follow these
I
specific
thought we were moving on from
Yeah, that
this.
was not the cue to explain it.
Fine.
I'll say that I definitely am struggling to think about kind of the mental and emotional stuff because I feel like people don't really, maybe that's like the correct definition, but I don't feel like people use the term glow up to ever describe the mental and emotional part. You know what I mean? And it's like, yeah, it technically, I guess it does mean you're transforming for the better and like you go you and like confidence is definitely a great mental thing to do that. But
I would agree that if someone did say glow up, mental and emotional changes probably wouldn't come to mind, at least for me. But I guess according to this definition we found, it does say mental and emotional. So I guess for the sake of this episode and for the sake of Urban Dictionary, we're just going to go with it.
I feel like what you were saying earlier about how like confidence kind of goes into the physical, I feel like both of these mental and emotional things kind of do go into that physical. Like when you're taking care of yourself mentally, I feel like it does just kind of reflect on not just confidence, but like so many different things. You know what I mean? And there's also things like money management, which isn't a physical thing. You know what I mean? But it's not like, I guess it's mental, like your maturity, I guess, kind of reflects in those different ways. So I guess that kind of like helps too.
Okay, I didn't expect money management to come up this episode, but that's an interesting point that you bring up. But in terms of confidence reflecting on physical appearance, I think a lot of people, when they do gain confidence, they really start to kind of express themselves, and maybe they put more effort into their appearance because they do feel confident in themselves, so they want to reflect how they feel on the inside outwardly. And I think having confidence gives people the courage to maybe be a little bolder with fashion and wear what they really do want to wear, or dye their hair a crazy color, or look how maybe they've always wanted to look but thought maybe I couldn't pull it off, or it's too risky. So I think confidence gives people the boost to really experiment.
Hmm. I feel like that also ties into just kind of the idea of overall just not caring about what other people think of you. Because I feel like a lot of the reason why people pre-mental glow up, I guess, a lot of the reasons why people don't necessarily do the things they want to do is because maybe they're insecure, they feel like they won't fit in, they're worried about how they'll be, what's the word, like perceived by others. And I feel like a big part of that is just kind of overcoming this insecurity, overcoming this boundary that a lot of people do have, these walls that they built up. And I think that this can all just be attributed to becoming your own person, going through this mental change, I guess, if you will.
Right, because I know personally, if I'm kind of having a bad day in terms of self-confidence, kind of down on myself, the last thing I want to do is put on my best outfit, do my hair, and put effort into my appearance. So I find that when I'm feeling good about myself is when I do put in more effort and I do want to look good and more presentable. So I think when you are in a better, more confident state of mind, I think you are more inclined to put more effort into your appearances.
I think the question that I have then is, do we have a quote unquote physical glow up as a result of a mental glow up? Or do you think that they kind of go hand in hand? It's not necessarily one before the other.
That's actually a really good question. I I don't know if this is going to be a one size fits all answer, but I do want to say that I think a mental glow up definitely does come before physical glow up. And I guess the mental glow up doesn't have to be 100% complete to move on to the next. It's not like mental is chapter 1 and physical is chapter 2. But I think you do have to have the right mindset. Like I said, if you are feeling down about yourself and insecure, I don't think those feelings push you to really be yourself in terms of fashion and style. So I definitely think you need to feel secure enough in yourself to even get out there and explore your physical appearance and stuff. But maybe that's just my opinion.
I feel like I would definitely agree with that. I know from at least my perspective, and I'm sure we'll get on this later, like with our own personal experiences with glow ups and everything like that. But I definitely do agree that kind of you need to have this mental change before you can have a physical change. And I think it's just one of those things where it's like you need to be in the right attitude, the right mindset to be able to make these changes for yourself. Because just making the changes without the attitude, making the physical changes without kind of changing your attitude or your perception, your insecurities, things like that. I feel like that really does hinder your ability to be your truest self. I guess just moving on though to a physical glow up, I think we all kind of just think of the same things, like maybe a better or a style upgrade. Maybe you went through puberty and kind of stopped looking like a kid and look more like an adult now. But what do you guys think is like kind of the factors that encompass the physical glow up?
Again, I think it's going to be different for everyone, but I would say I think style's a big one. It just finding your individual sense of style, whatever that may be, and just being confident, I guess, in your style. And maybe stuff like getting, I don't want to say the right haircut, but getting a haircut that really flatters you, or taking more care of stuff like your skin, or just, I don't know. I guess it is kind of hard to give some definitions, but I think maybe just more emphasis on self-care. And again, like I said, just putting more effort into your appearance, whatever that may be for you.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if effort necessarily is the thing that I'm looking for, because like, you don't need to put on a full ball gown. You know what I mean? Like sweatpants is fine. You know what I mean? So I feel like it's more of just the actual style of it, I guess, more than putting an effort. I don't know.
Maybe effort isn't the right word, but I guess just being content and happy with what you wear and how you look. Because, like you said, the sweatpants. I think I think sweatpants can be cute. So I think as long as you're wearing it because I want to wear this and I look cute or I look good in it and I feel comfortable, not I'm gonna wear sweatpants because I hate my body or because I'm too lazy and I can't be bothered. I think it has to be more intentional rather than like I just can't be bothered.
I feel like kind of like what she was saying. I feel like effort's maybe not the right word, but what I think of when I think of that is kind of like more you want to make these changes. I feel like pre-glow up, a lot of people just kind of like fall into a rut in terms of things like style. You go through the motions, just kind of wear the same things every day, even if it's maybe not your idealized sense of fashion or style. But I feel like a big thing after a glow up and like during a glow up in terms of physical appearance and style is kind of maybe not putting more effort into it, but just being more content, being more like pumped for what you're gonna wear, kind of wearing things that you want to wear. That, and I think that does kind of go along with that mental glow up that we were talking about.
I was gonna say, going back to the sweatpants thing, I guess it's maybe like a time and a place. Like if you wear sweatpants to this fancy restaurant, I guess that doesn't maybe reflect great, you know what I mean? But like, I guess what I'm saying is like sweatpants, yeah, it's fine. Never mind. We'll move on. Anyway, the second thing is kind of going back to that thing what Dan was talking about earlier, like does the mental lead to the physical? But I feel like changing your physical sometimes can maybe get you out of that rut to make the mental change. You know what I'm saying?
I think in cases, I don't know, I don't want to throw out these blanket statements because again, everyone is different, but I think starting with your appearance, maybe that can help you get into the right mindset, but I don't think that's going to fix a bad mindset because like I know of a lot of stories of people who lose they like lose a ton of weight and they think looking the way they want is going to solve all their problems, but it doesn't. The physical appearance or look that you've always dreamed of doesn't cure your insecurity or mental blocks. I'm not saying
Absolutely.
that it can't contribute to it or it can't help, but I know for a fact a lot of people when they lose weight and stuff, they think I'm going to be so much happier if I lose weight, but they're actually really not, because a physical appearance can't fully cure something like low self-esteem or insecurity.
Absolutely. I'm thinking more generally though, like, yeah, like if I have to go to class and I decide to not shower and I just go in my pajamas, I'm definitely not going to be in the best mindset to learn. You know what I mean? But if I like take a shower and I like get myself ready, I'm just thinking like that'll maybe kind of change my mindset about certain things. So that's what I'm thinking about physical changing mental. And I don't know if that's right, but yeah.
I feel like I definitely agree with you, like about what you're describing. I feel like for me, with things like that, I just don't kind of associate that with a glow up, I would say. I feel like a glow up is kind of like I don't want to use the word temporary, but it's like how do I describe this? It's like, it's not small, but I guess it's like a period of time where kind of you're going through these mental, physical, and emotional changes that kind of lead you to kind of those experiences that Evan was just describing there, where it's like you could like go to class in pajamas and not be in the right mindset, but you know, because you've already had your glow up, whether or not like that'll work out for you. I don't know if that made sense or not, but yeah.
I think what Evan was talking about almost falls more in with just self-care. If you're not taking time for that, that can definitely affect your mood. But I think you could still be a really confident person and not feel your best because maybe you didn't shower or you didn't have all the time you wanted to have gotten ready. I think, yeah, I think that just falls under like a lack of self-care for the day because maybe you didn't have time.
Is a glow up? Let me just clarify things. Like, I know what a glow up is, but I'm just saying for semantics sake, I guess. Like, I feel like a lot of times you see it in the movie and it's like you went away and they came back to the hometown for a weekend and they had a glow up. You know what I mean? So is it like a switch? Is it like once you have your glow up, you're in the glow up? What is it there? You know what I'm talking about?
That's something that really bothers me. I think in movies and TV and whatever, a glow up is really, they make it sound like, oh, we went away for summer break and I was not cool and I wasn't pretty before and then I came back and boom, I'm everything I ever wanted to be. When in actuality, I think a glow up isn't just let me turn a switch. I think it takes several years and a lot of self-work. I just don't think it is possible to change yourself so quickly like that, especially stuff with mental and emotional. That takes time to really build up your confidence and deal with stuff that's holding you back. So I really don't like the idea that let me just go away for a weekend and I'm going to come back a new person and be the person I've always wanted to be.
I definitely agree with that. Like when I think of a glow up, obviously it doesn't always correlate and associate with this, but when I think of at least my own like personal experience and like experiences that I know of like friends, peers, things like that, I always think that glow ups kind of aligned a little bit with puberty almost, where it's like that's like 2, 3, maybe even longer years. And I feel like it's like maybe a slow, but it is that period of time where you are making changes. And as I look back on my childhood and kind of things like that, not childhood, but I guess like the transition between childhood and young adulthood, I feel like I do kind of see that my glow up took place kind of as puberty was progressing during those time span.
I hope this isn't a stupid question, but like, can you have multiple glow ups then? Like, sure, I think stereotypically we think of puberty for the glow up time, but like, can you have one again when you're 30? Like, what's the deal there, I guess?
Yeah, definitely. I think a glow up is really a series. It's like a series of steps on like a staircase. As it takes a couple years or however long, and you're gradually making progress and making changes and becoming the person you want to be. It's not, I snap my fingers and it happens one time and then I'm done and this is who I am for the rest of my life. I definitely think a glow up is evolving and changing and takes years. I don't really think I've had a glow up, at least not this glow up that happens overnight.
I definitely agree with that. I feel like, especially like nowadays, just with like social media and everything, and us just being able to like see other people from like all over the world, see things like that. I feel like you can have multiple glow ups. Like you do have usually, or at least I would think that a good amount of people have kind of that stereotypical glow up in maybe like middle school, high school, that time where you change. A lot of that is usually attributed to physical change. But I definitely think like as you go into your 20s, as you go from maybe your 20s to your 30s, as maybe you hit like 50, things like that, like you definitely do have these additional glow ups. Maybe they're more mental and emotional and just kind of changes in attitude, but you can definitely have more than one, I would think.
I actually have to disagree with you that glow ups happen. I don't think a glow up is puberty. I understand that there's a lot of changes that happen in puberty, but I think at the time puberty happens, you're still so unsure of yourself and it's just an awkward age. I think I consider glow ups maybe more of like a high school into college thing. And again, I don't really want to put a time frame on it because it is going to be different for everyone. And I don't like the idea that there's like you have a glow up at a single point in time. I think it is much more of a constant evolution and change, but I think puberty is something else. So I guess now that we've talked about the physical aspects a lot, do we want to touch on emotional? I think emotional and mental overlap a bit, but I guess when I think of an emotional glow up, which again I didn't know existed, I guess I would just think of people who really like value self-care and self-love, and they recognize toxic things or people in their lives and they cut that out so they feel less emotionally drained and just more authentic. I don't know, I could be completely wrong.
Yeah, to Anna's point earlier, I guess, like now that we're talking about these emotional glow ups, I definitely think that it doesn't have to necessarily align with puberty, just because like when I think of like the emotional part of what I perceive to be when I go up and like cutting out maybe like toxic things, toxic environments, things like that, I definitely feel like that happened kind of in the transition between high school and college.
Yeah, I think the emotional idea of a glow up is a little harder to kind of pinpoint and maybe verbalize. At least I feel like I'm kind of having trouble with that because I think it does overlap a lot with mental.
Yeah, I think we touched upon it a little bit with mental, but when I think of like emotional glow up, I feel like a big part for me is just kind of like self-care, self-love. Like we talked about that with physical too, but I don't know. I feel like when I think of like emotional and like an emotional glow up, like one of the big things that comes to mind is just kind of like loving yourself, caring about yourself, and doing the things that are best for you. Like I guess that would also fall into the others, but I don't know. For me, that falls into emotional.
Yeah, that's definitely valid. I guess now that we've kind of talked about what glow ups can look like, do we want to get into some story times of our own personal glow ups or lack thereof? Because, like I said earlier, I don't really feel that I've had a glow up in the sense that most people think. Sure, I've definitely changed, but I I think it's kind of just smaller changes. Maybe like I've found my style, or I'm a little closer to finding my style, or something like that.
I don't know. I mean, with what Anna was talking about earlier about how glow ups aren't really a single point and like they're kind of constant, I feel like maybe I'm in the middle of a glow up. You know what I mean? Like, who knows?
Well, I think what comes to mind with you is I know, I guess in like maybe a year or two ago, I think you started to care about your style a little bit more and you kind of
I
actively
did?
tried to find your style. I
Did
don't know.
I?
I know we went shopping at the mall to help you find better clothes because
I
previously
forgot
you
about
just
that.
wore your brother's hand-me-down.
And I still do, and they're stylish as hell.
I think that what Anna's trying to say though is like you were finding your own style instead of using someone else's. While good, someone else's. individual
Yeah, I
style.
thought we went on that expedition because you really wanted to switch up your style and become your own
No, I
person, but
think
maybe
I
I
went on that.
misunderstood.
No, I think the expedition you're referring to, I went on because I needed clothes for a specific thing. But that's beside the point. Don't worry about it, because I don't want
So
to tell. I don't want
you
to say what this thing is.
you didn't have a physical glow up, is that what you're saying?
No, I'm definitely thinking of times in my life where I made physical changes that are like I look back on it and I'm like, why did I ever do that? Like when I had long hair, I'm like, why did I ever do that? But like then it's like I don't know if that was part of my glow up though. You know, I feel like that was just a style change in my life that I'm so happy I made, you know?
I guess I'll be the odd one out as per usual. But I think that I did have a glow up, or at least in the sense that I perceive it to be. I definitely think between like, I want to say like around like junior, senior year of high school or so, like I definitely did like a full 360 in terms of like style, haircut, things like that, kind of these physical traits. Like I went from wearing like baggy gym shorts and like basketball t-shirts every day to like nice clothes ish, I guess. And I think that that also kind of came along with, I guess, like these mental and not personality, but kind of these like attitude changes that I had. I just kind of grew more confident in myself, I would say. And maybe that was just because I realized that like, why does it matter what people think? Things like that. I don't know. But like, I don't know. I just felt more confident in myself. I felt less insecure about the way I presented myself, things like that. So I feel like when I think of my own glow up, I'm expecting to have many more in my life, I would think, as I grow up and gain more experience, get wiser, as they say. But I definitely think that I had like an initial glow up, especially focused on like looks and style, things like that during like high school.
I think now that I'm really reminiscing on it, I think I maybe did have a glow up too, because I'm thinking like it's kind of stereotypical, but it's like, you know, the braces come off and like I trim my hair and I get glasses and things like that. You know what I mean? That like just kind of really change how I look. And I'm also thinking like in middle school, I feel like I was such a different person from in high school. Like in high school, I was way more social and like I definitely changed to be way more different like in terms of my school life and like my personal life. So I just feel like maybe I don't know if maybe they were a transformation for the better like we talked about earlier for definition wise, but I definitely really changed a lot. So I'm just trying to decide now if it was for the better or not though. So I don't know.
I think that still could be considered a glow up. Again, I think this definition is very loose and it is from Urban Dictionary. It's not like this is some accredited source. No offense, Urban Dictionary. But yeah, a glow up is going to mean different things to everyone for sure. So we're not the glow up judges by any means.
We are not glow up professionals.
Are we
Disclaimer.
professional anything?
We're professional advice givers. I'm just kidding. I don't
Disclaimer,
even.
we are not professionals. I guess like we talked about like our maybe my individual glow up, Evan's, but maybe individual glow up and Anna's lack of an individual glow up. But like I guess just more generally, like how have you guys changed since like high school, middle school, things like that? I just kind of want to see if like that can kind of tie into a glow up at all.
Well, before we get into the nitty gritty with these high school changes, I don't know that. I think the reason why I haven't had a glow up, and I don't want to say that I haven't had a glow up because I've definitely changed, but I think part of it is I still don't really know what I want to be, if that makes sense. Like I'll see other people and I'll think, oh, their style looks so cool, but then I'll see something completely different and think, well, that's so cool too. And I know you don't have to be just one thing, but I think I don't know what kind of style I like yet, or I don't know would I dye my hair pink? I don't know. It looks good on her. Maybe it'll look good on me. So I mean, maybe I just haven't unlocked this self-confidence that Dan unlocked in the middle of high school. But I think I guess it is hard to glow up when you don't know what it is that you want to glow up to.
I think that's one of the best things about life, especially when you're in like your early 20s, when you're a young adult, when you have some responsibility, but not like way too many responsibilities. And it's that like you can continuously change. So I feel like if we were to give advice, like definitely like experiment with things, like try different things up. Nothing has to be permanent. You're young, nothing will be permanent. You can change any of these things later. So if you are like unsure about things like maybe a hair color, a certain style that you're thinking, things like that, like definitely experiment with them to see like maybe this could work. And if it doesn't, this is just 1 year or 1 month, however long you want to do it, that you're going to forget in like 10, 15 years from now and you'll look back and laugh about.
Yes, Dan, that is absolutely right. I almost forgot that this was an advice podcast for a hot second. But yes, just especially while you're young, try things, experiment with things. That's the only way you're going to find out what works for you. I don't know what other advice I have because I'm not a professional advice giver.
I was just gonna say that I don't even feel like you need to stress about it though, because I feel like just thinking about my parents, I feel like they're not set in their style and everything yet. You know what I mean? Like I feel like they're always changing and trying new things. So I don't know. I wouldn't even stress about it now.
Do we want to talk about the changes we've had since high school? I don't know that I can like name any major changes since high school. I guess if I had to say anything, maybe part of the mental aspect, maybe that like I know myself a little bit better, because I think an example is in high school, maybe I tried to be more, I don't want this to come out wrong, but like I tried to be more social and I thought like, yeah, I'm an extrovert, but then in college like, oh, no, I'm definitely an introvert. I don't know what I was thinking in high school. And I think I've kind of accepted that a little bit more, and maybe I'm not trying as hard to be something that I'm not.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it's kind of the same thing. Like in high school, I definitely thought that I was an extrovert, and I still think I am an extrovert in college now. But I feel like in high school, I thought that, like, I guess to kind of be my best self, I had to surround myself with a million friends all the time, always be doing something, always have something planned. And while I still enjoy doing things now with friends, I feel like my social circle now is significantly smaller, I would say, but I'm equally, if not more, content with the situation. I think that just can be correlated with kind of finding yourself along the way. And I think that's something that I was able to do from like high school to college, was kind of being confident in the fact that, oh, you don't need to be surrounded by this many people all the time to feel like your best self.
Just to be clear, you are an extrovert, though.
I know. So
Don't ever don't.
Hey, I said that I was an extrovert in high school, and I'm still an extrovert in college.
Just so we're all clear, though, that like that is who you were meant to be. That is your true self.
And
Anyway, I was gonna
play the
say,
tape.
yes, I know what you said, but it felt like you were getting at that maybe you should be an introvert. But just to be clear, you shouldn't be. Anyway,
I was trying to fake an identity crisis.
I was gonna say
I'm having a quarter life crisis.
I feel like maybe I changed emotionally, and I don't know if this is part of the glow up that we talked about earlier emotionally, but I definitely feel like in middle school, I was definitely way more. I feel like I'm talking down to myself, but I feel like I was such an angry child. You know what I mean? And I feel like I just gained a lot of patience and like understanding. And I feel like I've just kind of changed from middle school in that way into high school. Like I feel like I don't want to say matured, but like basically, you know what I mean? So yeah.
So the moral of the story, Dan was and always will be an extrovert. Evan was an angry child.
And you are?
I don't know. Just an introvert who, I don't know, maybe still wishes she was an extrovert. So maybe I haven't changed mentally. I don't know. Still up
Anna
for
has
debate.
not gone through her mental glow up.
I guess
I've
so.
glowed down.
I guess to kind of finish it off like we normally do you guys just want to rapid fire some stuff about gloves, kind of recapitulate our points, just kind of go back in there and say what we want to say?
We should actually give advice, because that's what this episode's been lacking, actual
True.
advice. So if you made it this far, thanks for sticking with us. I guess a piece of advice that I would want to give is, I guess, don't feel bad if it seems like everyone else around you is changing a lot or making these huge changes. Everyone has a different timeline, and trust me, yours will come, and it probably won't seem like this switch flipped overnight. It probably will seem more like a series of gradual changes, but don't fall into the pressure, I guess.
I guess going on from that, like if you feel like you are maybe at the cusp of a glow up, whether it be a mental, physical, emotional, or any of the above, I would definitely say like follow your instincts. Like maybe follow what you want to do, experiment with your looks, with your appearance, things like that. And you don't have to keep it, but if you do, then maybe you'll be more content with the life that you're living afterwards. Who knows?
It's definitely easier said than done, as usual, I feel like, on this podcast. But when it comes to it, just try to not look at other people. Like, if you do think you're going through your glow up or whatever, just make sure you're focusing on what you want to get out of it and not what you think other people maybe want you to be. You know what I mean? Because that's really the point here, making sure you change for yourself.
Yeah, that's another good point that you brought up at the end there. Make sure, yeah, do it for yourself. It doesn't matter, I guess, what other people want. I think a big part of having achieved a so-called glow up is just being content and comfortable with yourself. And that even if your looks don't even change, if you have that mental shift and you are really comfortable and happy with yourself, then I say that's a win. You don't have to undergo some radical change in style and become a completely different person.
Like we said in the beginning, like what we're kind of perceiving or defining a glow up to be is just a mental, physical, or emotional change or transformation for the better. That better can be kind of measured in a million different ways. I'm sure every single person has their own scale for how they want to measure that, but just kind of as long as you're meeting that standard for yourself and like kind of just living a happier life because of that, I think that that would be a really good way to not only kind of go through your quote unquote glow up, but also kind of live a more maybe happy and fulfilled life.
One last thing I want to add is just be open-minded. I think at some point in time we all have this maybe really strict idea of who we think we are or who we want to be, but that might not work out, or it might not actually be authentic to who you are. So just keeping an open mind in terms of, I guess, who you think you are could help you maybe discover something that you weren't expecting. And with that, I think we've run out of advice. Sorry, it's a little less than other episodes, but I hope everyone was still able to enjoy it today. And I hope everyone is able to have their own personal glow up in whatever form that means to you.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode.
Be sure to like and follow our podcast on whatever platform you're currently listening to it on.
Check out our social media linked in the description, and tune in next week for even more advice.
TTYL
From IFL.
Bye!